effects, and live things. Well, if you heard my very first podcast, thank you for giving that a shot and bearing with me with um, the roughness, right? This is totally new, but I'm super excited to go ahead and talk with you guys about music, about gear, and just the whole life thing, being a father, being a full-time music teacher, and gigging musician, all while trying to be creative and sharing music that reflects musical things that happen in my brain as it pertains to bass, and how I love effects pedals and how it all kind of just eventually comes together one layer at a time through my R4 Zoom recorder, which I talked a little bit about it the other day, the last podcast, and it is an awesome piece. Let me tell you, if it wasn't for that, I don't think I would have recorded as many albums, or and maybe even completed just the first. Right, being at a computer for me is difficult. I want to say that a plus side about the R4 Zoom recorder is the fact that it kind of brings some nostalgia back to when I used to record to cassette tapes and then play it back from one cassette player to another, and then and then layer on top of that, right, some new idea. And so that is barbaric, right? It's it's ancient, but for me at the time, it was like the coolest thing ever. And that kind of brings a little bit of that type of momentum and recording style, where on the R4 you can go ahead and bounce tracks and keep layering and adding as you want. So this piece of gear is super cool. I love the fact that you can do some mixing in there with the sliders. You can pan sounds right or left, and you can add some reverb, which I've done. And again, just having some minimal EQ ability to change things, not to be so thick or to thin things out, or add some brightness, right? It definitely is a very versatile tool that I enjoy. It's all about the workflow. If you ask me, a lot of people will not create. They will not produce anything original because there's a lack of workflow that fits their style or their preference or their ability to designate certain amount of time. Like for me, if I had to open up a laptop, open up some sort of DAW, plug stuff in and all that, or be limited to only a studio scenario situation, that would definitely limit the amount of music that I would be able to produce. Maybe even even just capitalizing on the moments when you're wanting to press record and create. With the R4, I've taken it to work. I've taken it to gigs. I've taken it from one room to the next inside my house, right? And you can go ahead and just plug in and record, plug and play, and having that facility to mobilize your recording equipment, right, or your person, right, instead of saying, you know what, I can only record in my music room. If that's you, hey, there's no shame in that, no shade. But for me, I want to be able to be flexible and not be restricted to even a laptop. They might take longer to boot up. There's the idea of having to save material that can be lost, the hard drives, etc. And obviously with the R4, you have a microchip where you can store all your music and then upload it onto your laptop thereafter. But that within itself, I guess, could provide some issues. But for me, it's practical, it's self-sufficient, and I'm for it. The next thing I want to talk about as far as gear is the bass. I know that I should have tackled that sooner. I wanted to, but the reality is that there's so many things I want to talk about, and I really did want to focus on the music itself, right? The albums, the first album, First Steps, and even though I didn't hit everything that I wanted to in the way I wanted to, it still felt good to go ahead and clarify more about pieces and just general ideas, right, about that first attempt to record and produce some original material. The bass. I am a 6-string bass player. For some reason, that has me. And I'll give a little bit of a backstory regarding that. My very first bass was a 5-string Sound Gear Ibanez that my parents got me when I was 14 years old. And I love that thing. That thing, I still remember seeing it in the music store hanging, and all too vividly just being like, man, if I could just have that bass, that would be the world. That would mean everything. And I was a drummer. I was still very much a drummer from middle school throughout high school, and yet I had this this little spark, right? This interest in the bass. And it was a 5-stringer, and I know at the time many people were like, oh, you should start on a 4, you should start on a 4. But this really cool looking mahogany bass with rosewood fretboard was a 5-stringer. So I managed to convince my parents that I was really about it, and they bought it for me. And at the time I feel like the price was outrageous, or at least I do now in retrospect, but they got it for me knowing that I was very much into music and that there was something there. So I still have that bass till today, but I do not play it. It's more of just a sentimental piece that I keep locked up in the closet for the the sentimental reasons. But the 5-string bass, I was all about it for years and years, and eventually I tried a 6-string bass with a particular trio where my brother was the drummer, and I was juggling bass and effects pedals and a keyboard, on the side, more as an auxiliary piece for actual keyboard sounds, not for like a key bass type of sound. And after that band kind of tanked for after about a year and a half, I decided, well, I'm not really needing this 6-string bass, even though I had played for like 10 years a 5-string bass. I was like, I'll give the 6-string a shot, but this time is over. Let me get rid of it. Got rid of it. Played a 5-string bass for another few years, and then decided, you know what, I'm really wanting to push some of my range, right? Some of the stuff that I'm hearing that I would like to play, even just quarterly. I'm going to need a 6-string bass again. So I decided to get another 6-string bass, and I got a 6-string Ibanez Sound Gear bass, and quickly realized that, yeah, this thing is very cool. This is more of a me thing now, where I'm at musically as a bass player. And what I ended up doing was, after about a month of gigging with the 6-string bass almost every weekend, I ended up picking up my 5 and taking it out to a gig. I played the one gig, and it was just awful. Like, I hated it. I did not have fun playing a 5-string bass anymore. The 6-string bass ruined me after that second 6-string purchase, and I realized that, no, this is where I need to be. This is where I want to be on a more permanent basis. So, yes, I'm a 6-string bass player. I don't know how many years, 10, 15 years on the 6-string, and I ended up getting really into MTD basses. A friend of mine was like, you should get a Kingston, MTD bass, blah blah blah. I ended up getting one. We ended up talking shop about it, and eventually I ended up becoming endorsed, and not just through MTD but also through Bartolini pickups. I ended up getting an MTD 635-24, beautiful bass. It was a maple burl top with mahogany body, maple neck, rosewood fretboard, and I had that thing for many years. And eventually I got a second 635, and that one hit me even harder after playing it for a year. I ended up really, really loving the aesthetics, the feel, the sound. Also with Bartolini pickups, it was an ash body, buckeye burl top, and it had a maple fretboard. And even though the fretboard was maple, or bird's eye maple, the neck was ash. Such a cool bass, roughly about 9.5 pounds. If you look at my IG, there's plenty of photos of me with the bass, just the bass. Man, it was just a great looking instrument. And sonically, it definitely had the sound that I wanted and needed for a very long time. However, as things go, people change, their ears change, their the way we move, right? The places we go, how quickly we have certain expectations, and when those expectations are not met, we find adjustments, right? We make adjustments. And so at the beginning of this year, 2025, when I started recording, I quickly realized that, yeah, this 635 is a whole nother inch longer than standard 34. The string spacing is 18 millimeter, and I don't have crazy long fingers. So I was like, man, I really think I'm gonna need to sell this bass, and really look for something more short scale or shorter scale, and something that really allows me to create and be all the more comfortable with playing chords and going from point A to point B, without fighting the instrument nearly as much. In cover bands, the MTD 635-24 was amazing. Loved the look, loved the sound. It was completely fine. But as I mentioned before in the previous podcast, at the beginning of the year, I quickly realized that I was going to be 39. The following year in 2026, I was going to be 40. And I was like, man, am I going to want to be playing a 9.5 pound instrument till I'm done, right? Till I can't gig anymore. And so then I was like, I'm looking for alternatives. I'm looking at instruments. I'm thinking, you know what? I need a short scale bass that will not break my back, that is smaller in string spacing, in scale length, lighter, all of that. And so, believe it or not, this S. Martin bass came up on my radar on IG. It came up on Reverb, and let me tell you, it was like, oh, that is such a cool looking bass. Let me look at the specs. And some of you know this, right? You can look at a bass and you're like, yes, but what are the details? What does this bass really have that can either help me or hinder me, right? I need reasons to be able to pull the trigger on a new instrument, the next best instrument, right? So let me tell you the specs, right? This S. Martin bass, that after 4 albums of having recorded with the MTD, I made the switch, and let me tell you, it has been such a great transition, and one of the best decisions musically that I've made. It was definitely for musical reasons first and foremost, not purely on aesthetics or some sort of just ridiculous need to be a consumer, right, and spend and just start racking up the instruments in the room. So this S. Martin bass that I am all the more frequently playing, exclusively playing, really, even though I do have another custom bass in the works. This S. Martin is a concert 32 inch scale length bass, and it is hollow body. It has 17 millimeter string spacing, and it is headless. So everything different than the MTDs that I've had in the past, right? It's the size of a classical guitar. Let's just say that. Looking perhaps even more guitar-like, it's the size of a classical guitar. So again, 32-inch scale, 17 millimeter spacing, 7.5 pounds. My back thanks me every day that I play that thing. It is an amazing instrument. You're able to play it a little bit more acoustically without having to plug it into an amp. You can still hear significant resonance and amplification naturally. And it's such a versatile instrument. This bass has active and passive push-pull option. You have your EQ. You have the soap bar pickups, right? You can switch between the 60s series single coil option and the 70s single coil option. And I'm not a guru on this pickup mess. This is so new to me. And then you can have obviously everything on, right? The humbucker, everything turned up pickup wise. And it sounds amazing in every position. If you ask me, I've used all the positions to record and even in live use, right? Even though I like everything usually in the middle and all pickup aspects on. It's a very cool instrument, and I have even more stories about how it's cool and everything. And again, I can only share so much right now. My ADHD brain is like all the info, but can't. So I'm gonna slow down, take a breath, and just say that it is a short scale instrument and a backsaver. And when I play it, I can feel more guitar oriented, right? Playing chords and just, it's one of those things that I would like to share when people would ask me, like, well, if you had to do it all over again, would you pick the bass? And I would say, well, I thought I was a drummer, and I've had all these like identity crisis issues, right, musically speaking. But I would always say, well, if I had to do it all over again, I would become like a really good guitar player. I'd pick guitar because you can take it anywhere. You can accompany yourself, sing over it, and I feel like nylon classical string guitars are just amazing sounding instruments in so many different genres. But then I got this S. Martin 32-inch scale bass, hollow body bass. Amazing. And after I thought about that question again, I realized, you know what? I would not become a guitar player. If I had to do it all over again, I would still be a bass player with this kind of bass because it allows me to be somewhat of a guitar player, but still enjoy and push the frequencies that I enjoy most, which are more in the 6-string bass range. So there's my long drawn out sales pitch for S. Martin basses, which they've been super cool working with me, allowing me time to sell my MTD bass before getting the S. Martin. And even after the purchase, they've kept in touch and really promoted and shared feedback on my music. And again, that relationship has really flourished, and look forward to seeing them at NAMM, which there is a big surprise that I'm not ready to share yet regarding S. Martin and their basses, but I will be there, and I will definitely be hanging out at their booth as January approaches, right, 2026. Well, that has been a lot on the bass flip or switch or jump, but it's definitely been for the music, and I'm so glad that there's so many options out there now for musicians who need short scale basses, basses that don't have crazy big long fingers or don't want to have a crazy heavy instrument on their back. Age is a real thing, and the body can only take so much after so long. And I'm one of those. Like this could be very well a retirement bass, and if I never play another instrument, I think it's light enough to be able to play sitting, right? Which brings me to my last point regarding the S. Martin bass. Because of the body size and the weight, there's no neck dive at all. It is so easy to sit in classical guitar playing position and have that instrument between your legs and being able to play it without having to rest it on your one right leg and then having this like back twisting type of position where the instrument's not centered to your body, right, or your stomach, your diaphragm. And with this S. Martin, it's so easy to sit and play it in that classical position. It's like it's made for that. And if I'm wrong, I apologize to S. Martin. And again, everybody has their way of playing with it. The instrument's up high, it's down low. Hey, whatever works for you, that's the way to go. So for me, sitting is a very convenient thing to do, all the more, especially when you're messing with pedals and recording and you're not trying to stand up in that scenario much of the time. But it is great to play it standing. Again, 7.5 pounds isn't an awesome number to have slung over your shoulder. All right, moving on to effects pedals. And I don't know how in depth I'll get today regarding effects pedals, but let me tell you that exploring all the pedals or many of the pedals, it can get crazy, right? It's a rabbit hole trying to see what you like sound-wise versus the dimensions versus the aesthetics, right? Oh, if this pedal was in this color, I'd get it. Or, man, that pedal sounds great, but it looks awful. Or, hey, it looks great, it sounds great, but footprint-wise, I cannot fit that on my pedal board, right? The floor plan will just not allow it. So I did a lot of research around October, November of last year, right? And I ended up selecting several pedals that I felt were really sounds that I enjoyed after looking up several samples. I looked at price range, right? Trying to get bang for buck. Also, the measurements, right? Making sure that if I went a certain route, they were going to land nicely, neatly, and it was not going to have to be like, oh, I got to return this, or I'm keeping this, but now I'm not going to even put it on my pedal board, right? And so what I ended up having to do, or what I decided to do, because I truly, truly love my Monolite pedal board that's 14 inches long, and I have my Ampero 2 on there. I have a Pico Pog on there, a Swift Audio tuner, JHS red remote switch, and then my longtime friend Zoom 60B or MS 60B pedal, right? Which some people are like, what is that? And it's because I scratched off all the burgundy color paint that was on it. I ended up scratching it all off, so now it looks all silverish, aluminum-like. And anyway, so that's my short board. I can take that anywhere, everywhere, and it's got the sounds that I need. Anywhere from reverb to chorus to auto wah, drive, octave up, octave down, in combining with your dry sound, more of an OC2 kind of sound. You got your ambient effects in there too that I like. So several things that just, for me, covers multiple genres and musical domains. With that in mind, I knew I didn't want to make a giant board where I'd take off all those pedals off my Monolite board and then place it on a larger fixed board and have to lug that huge thing around. For the average cover gig, it was going to be way more than what I needed. So last year in October, I decided to really muster up a modular double-decker type of board. Basically getting a Monolite Plus board, which is 18 inches long, and drilling some holes in it, and then slapping on top a Vertex riser, right, that is able to open and close, and that is 17 inches long. And so I bolted that on, and now you have this single double-decker modular unit that I can plug into without having to have one giant board carrying all those new pedals that I was going to place on it and in it, and then having to get all my other pedals from my Monolite short board onto there, right? So if I want to just pick up and go, I can get the Monolite board and go. If I want to combine the two boards, it really isn't that much to connect the two, right? I'll eventually explain the routing on that, but I do like the idea of customizing your stuff to how you feel your workflow will allow you to be most productive. And this is it. This really is it. I have my double-decker modular board in my studio right now, just sitting on the floor. And if I want to record, I can throw my short board in front and then plug the stuff in. There's like 3 or 4 things to plug in. It's very quick. It's pretty efficient. And then, like, if I need to get up and go and I'm scrambling to go to a gig, I don't have to like pack the whole board. I can just unplug the 3-4 cables and pop that little short board in my Monolite tick case, right? And it's one of the coolest, best things that I keep reliving or reappreciating, right? I keep appreciating it over and over, this idea, this modular concept, flexible, 2-board concept, so that I can make my regular gigs without having to take a huge board that's needless, and still have it pretty available and ready to go once I'm ready to record in my room again, should I want to use all that stuff. Pedals. Let's talk about the pedals that go into the double-decker modular board. And again, if you've seen my Instagram, you know what's on there. You know the kind of gear and sounds that I'm after. So let's start with the bottom platform. We got another Zoom MS60B because I think it's that great, and there's so many sounds that are worth using. I'll get more into sounds probably in a different podcast. Next to that, I have the Aguilar Optimizer, and next to that, I have a Ditto looper, right? The small looper. Then we go up towards the top through the Mood, Chase Bliss Mood pedal, which that piece is a sentimental, awesome thing that my wife bought me one year, and it always reminds me of her because it's got that peachy color, and her favorite color is peach. So she's my Mood. She got me that Mood. That Mood is forever going to stay in my possession. And then we have these 3 black pedals next to it, which I dig because they look so good in black, and yet they do such a service to my Mood pedal that's on the end of that, and aesthetically just pops out and makes it look iconic to me, or all the more iconic to me. And again, aesthetics matter. So the first black pedal after the Mood on the top layer is the Maris Autobid Jr., followed by the Walrus Audio Melee, which is an amazing pedal. I totally dig that and use it on every album, as I do pretty much all the pedals. The next one next to it is also another Walrus Audio pedal, which is the Fable granular delay type of pedal, which is super cool. I have used maybe 3 or 4 different settings on that, and it's always a good time with that pedal. Then it funnels down to the shortboard in front, which goes another Zoom 60B, and then into my Pico Pog, and then into the Ampero, and then out back underneath the modular board into the last 2 units, which are the Sonic Cake mini compressor pedal, and then into, lastly, my Walrus Audio stereo reverb slower pedal. That is the chain. And yes, it's series, and you could be asking, why are you not doing more in the stereo, parallel type of connection? Wow, that definitely ruins things here, but definitely going to go ahead and continue on in spite of that bell. Yes, definitely a very cool setup that I have, and I hope that you're able to eventually check it out on IG or Instagram, and then hear all the actual recordings that I have with all those pedals. So thank you for listening. I hope you guys have a great day, and I'll catch you at the next episode. Have a good one.